Hello my dear students and welcome to your favorite educational YouTube channel English वाली मैम. So आज के वीडियो में आज हमारी OTT सीरीज बाय डे 54 नो हाउ टू गेट द परफेक्ट स्कोर का एपिसोड 15 है. एंड इन today's video we are going to be studying the next chapter from our supplementary reader. What is the name of the chapter? The Midnight Visitor. Okay, and before we start with the revision of the chapter, I want to remind all of you that if you have still not subscribed to our channel, please do that beta, because two things. First, जब हम लिटरेचर के सारे चैप्टर्स पोएम्स की रिवीजन कंप्लीट करेंगे, on that day I am going to be talking about, or I'm going to tell you some examiners secret, which will of course help you get a good score in the literature section. And on day 53, that is a day before your exam, I am going to tell you, or I'm going to disclose an absolute plan for all of you, which will help you get a perfect score in your English board exam. So do subscribe to our channel if you've not done it so far, and do like and share our channel with your friends, because ये जो आप शेयरिंग करोगे चैनल की, your friends will also get benefit out of it. And फिर जब सारे फ्रेंड्स के इंग्लिश एग्जाम में अच्छे मार्क्स आएंगे और सारे फ्रेंड्स जब मिल के पार्टी करते हैं, उसका मजा तो कुछ और ही होता है, right? So let us start with the revision of the chapter, The Midnight Visitor. Now by now we know that how are we supposed to revise the chapter? We need to know all the important incidents of the chapter sequence wise. So we draw a flow chart for this. And second, we need to know about all the important characters and the incidents related to them. Okay, so let us start with the revision of the chapter, The Midnight Visitor. So, the first incident that occurs is, it says, Oswald, a detective by profession, is at a hotel with a man named Fowler. And this person, Fowler, he's quite disappointed when he looks at Oswald. So he knows that Oswald is a detective by profession. But when Fowler looks at Oswald, he's very disappointed. Why? Because Oswald was a fat-looking man, and he saw, and what the perception that we have about detectives is that they're very well maintained, and they're very energetic, and they have a lot of stamina. So all these expectations of Fowler had come crashing down when this man named Oswald, who was quite a fat man in appearance, and while climbing the stairs of the hotel, he started wheezing heavily. So Fowler was quite disappointed, and this is what Oswald points out, that you might be very disappointed by looking at me because I do not fit into the description of a detective. So while these two, that is Oswald and Fowler, are talking to each other, they enter Oswald's room. So why, and of course before that, while Oswald is talking, while the two are entering the room, before that, Oswald is talking about an important paper. All right, and he and Fowler enter his room. Whose room? Oswald's room. So Oswald is talking to Fowler. He's saying that I have some important documents with me. They need to be protected. Blah 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 blah. So there's a conversation that is going on. Now, when Oswald and Fowler enter Oswald's room, of course, there's pitch dark in the room. The lights are switched off. But the moment they enter the room, the lights, they are switched on. And what do they see? They see a man holding a pistol, an automatic pistol in his hand, asking Oswald to hand over the report concerning missiles. So who was this man who was holding the automatic pistol? It was a man named Max. And this man, talking about his physical appearance, was very slim, was very slender kind of a person. And Fowler thought to himself that, wow, now I have an adventure of night. Now I am going to actually see something interesting because I have a detective here, then there who is maybe a hero of the story, and then there's a villain of the story who's holding a pistol, an automatic pistol, and now these two have an argument regarding some important document. So the important document was a report concerning missiles. Oswald's reaction is unusual and he narrates a story to Max. In fact, he narrates kind of two stories to Max. The first story is regarding a balcony, and the second story is regarding the arrival of the police. So let us first understand how Oswald's reaction was very unusual. So for that, I want all of you to come to page number 16, 16 of your textbook. All of you have it. Vida, I have told you previously also, if you are not practicing this, please do it because it's going to really help you. I know these videos are on a particular channel on YouTube and you can watch them again. But आप फिर से video देखो और फिर से book निकालने जाओ. I think it consumes time. Okay, you can of course watch the video as many times as you want so that you get the chapter very clear in your mind. That's okay. But while you're watching this video for the first time, make sure the moment I announce the name of the chapter, you have your textbook handy. All right? Okay. So let us talk about or let us read about Oswald's reaction. One thing more बेटा, मेरे से किसी बच्चे ने ये पूछा था कि मैम आप इंसिडेंट्स जो है उनको कुछ पर्टिकुलर इंसिडेंट्स को आप chapter में से पढ़ते हो, from the textbook you read it for us. So are they important? Are they like very important? Yes, they are of absolute importance, because if you have observed by now, the incidents that I read from your textbook are important with regard to extract based question. The second reason for that is that these incidents that we talk about from these particular extracts, from these particular passages, there are fair chances that you can either get a short answer type question or a long answer type question. And long answer type question would mainly include about either the correlation between two different texts, or probably something related to life values. I'll explain you this with an example. Let's read this incident. Let's read about Oswald's reaction. So it says, page number 16, first paragraph. Oswald moved to an armchair and sat down heavily. I am going to raise the devil with the management this time, and you can bet on it, he said grimly. Now, this particular line, Oswald, he moved to an armchair and he sat on it heavily. Now there's a person holding an automatic pistol in front of you, and you show no signs of fear, no signs of concern. You do not try and tell that person, oh, don't shoot me, oh, please don't harm me. Instead, you walk up to the other part of the room or the other corner of the room and you sit down in an armchair. What does that show? That there's some kind of control that you have on your mind, no matter what the situation is. So, let's say if there is only these two lines or this one line is given to you in a question, and the question this line is given and you get a question like, why is it important to have control? Probably something like that. Oswald's reaction, in a way, justifies the Buddha's teaching of having control over one's mind. The sermon at Banaras chapter and how it is related to this chapter, Midnight Visitor. So now you have to make an answer, and let's say this is a short answer type question. So how are you going to relate these two chapters and make a good answer? All right, and that's why I read these texts, these passages directly from the book, and then explain what are the core values being discussed in this particular passage. So जो भी passage मैम पढ़ती हैं, I'm not saying other passages are not important. Of course, they are very important. But these particular passages have some core value hidden in them, or they talk about some important, life value, or they talk about character traits that one must develop. So do pay attention to these as well. Okay. So Osibel's reaction is unusual. Why? Because he goes and sits down on an armchair and he says that I'm going to raise a devil with thee. Man, to raise a devil with someone else, to complain heavily. Alright? He says this now Osibel is starting to tell a story related to a balcony. So he says this is the second time in a month that somebody has got into my room through that nuisance of a balcony. So Osibel sitting, if you look at this image, that's Osibel sitting and he's complaining and he's saying that, there's this now, not you, just not you, Max. A few days before you also, a person, he entered my room using a balcony, which is of course outside the room. Now Fowler's eyes went to a single window of the room. It was an ordinary window against which now night was pressing blackly. Balcony? Max said with a rising inflection. No, a passkey. I did not know about the balcony. It might have saved me some trouble if I had known. So, look at the convincing tone with which Osibel was able to make Fowler believe, make Max believe that there is a balcony outside, and that's why Fowler now he's adding to the conversation and he's saying, "Oh, I never knew there's a balcony outside. If that was possible, I wouldn't have taken the risk of making a duplicate key or a pass key and coming into your room. I would have straight away come from the balcony." It's not my balcony, Osibel said with extreme irritation. It belongs to the next apartment. So now, what is Osibel trying to do here? He's trying to create a picture in Max's mind saying that, I'm not saying there's a balcony right outside my room. There is a balcony of the next room through which someone can enter or jump into my room as well. He glanced explanatorily at Fowler. You see, he said, this room used to be a part of a large unit, and the next room through the door there used to be the living room. It has a balcony which extends under my window now. So now see, Osibel was so observant. He was, noticing each and every reaction that Max was giving. So Osibel noted that, Max has looked at the window, at the single window in the room. So now the story that Osibel is building, he includes that window that Max was looking at. Very clever. You get onto it from the empty two doors down, and somebody did last month. The management promised to block it off, but they haven't. So now this is the complete story of the balcony that Osibel has given to Max. Then Max glanced at the Fowler who was standing stiffly not far from Osibel. And then he was waving the gun at Fowler, and Max tells Fowler that you also sit down. We have to wait. We have a wait of half an hour, I think. So Max is telling Fowler, you also sit down because you got to wait for around 30 minutes. This entire process will take, wherein I have to take or I have to, rob the papers from Osibel. Now Osibel, again an unusual reaction. when Max says that it's going to take half an hour, it's going to take 30 minutes, Osable says 31 minutes. The appointment was for 12:30. I wish I knew you have learned about the report. All right. And now Osipal is trying to show himself as a kind of a very gullible person, and say, and in a regretting kind of a tone, he said, oh, I wish I knew that you are aware of the reports, I would have hid them somewhere. And so he's trying to convince Max that I am scared of you, but he also says that it's going to take 31 minutes. And then he says, and we wish we knew how your people got the report. So this is something, but no harm has been done. I will get it back tonight. Okay, so this all Max is saying. So he says that doesn't matter. Even if you knew, you did not know about it. That's not my concern. I'm anyways going to take the reports from you. And then suddenly there was a loud, repeated knocking at the door, very loud. And Fowler, he jumped suddenly. And Oswald smiled and he says, that will be the police. So the story about the police now comes. I thought such an important paper as the one we are waiting for should have a little extra protection. I told them to check on me to make sure everything was all right. So when there was a loud knocking at the door, again, that's again a story that possible bills, and he says that I knew that there is this very confidential document that I'm carrying and it needs extra protection. So I asked the police people to keep a check on me after every some time to ensure that I am absolutely fine. No one has tried to threaten me or to kill me. Now Max bit his lips nervously and the knocking was repeated. Now what happens is the knocking continues, and Max, now he is unable to control his fear. And in order to save himself, he jumps out of that single window which was there in the room. So what happens next? Come to page number 17. Now, okay, while all this knocking was happening, so let's come to the second passage. It said the doorknob turned. Swiftly, Max put his left hand to free himself from the sill and dropped in the balcony. So he was kind of hanging from that window, thinking that I'm going to drop myself to the balcony. And then, as he dropped, he screamed once shrilly. So, what had happened to Max? Since there was no balcony in the room, the like the he was hanging from that window itself with only plain ground. So the moment he let his hand free, Max actually came to the ground and he was killed. The door. So who was actually at the door? The door opened and a waiter stood there with a tray, a bottle and two glasses. Here is the drink you ordered for when you returned, he said. And he set the tray on the table. And then Fowler, he was white faced. And he said, and he stammered, the police? So Oswald says, there was no police. Only Henry, whom I was expecting. Henry was the waiter. But won't that man out on the balcony, won't he return? So Oswald says, he won't return, you see, my young friend. There is no balcony. Isn't that a very interesting story? Right? So, now that we have read the story, let us talk about the characters involved in the story. And when we talk about the characters involved in the story, that time we also talk about the character traits of these people. So, let us understand about the main character in this story. Time to turn the boat. So, who are the important characters? Of course, you have Oswald as the main character. We have one more thing. it is important that you write or and you remember basically the correct spellings of all the important characters in the story. Please don't mess up with spellings, okay? And you have maths. There is not much information about Fowler as such, okay? So, if I talk about Possible, of course, he was very witty. How do you know he was witty? Because he knew how to communicate in a manner that the other person starts believing him. Very clever with their sense, with their presence of mind. Related to witty, of course, you have strong presence of mind. In this, you can talk about Oswald's reaction, that how he was able to control his fear. He could have a control over not exhibiting his feelings of being fearful if he was. And last, what is the last quality or the last character trait of Oswald? He was a very good, tell me what? He was a very good storyteller. Okay? Of course, the two stories he talked about. I'm sure बेटा अब तक आपको समझ आ गया होगा कि मैम जो incidents explain करती हैं, how are they related to character sketch या character sketch जो मैम आपको बताती हैं वो story के incidents से कैसे मैम relate करती हैं. This is exactly what you need to also follow in your exam wherever required. Then you talk about maths. So if I talk about maths, of course, he could be easily fooled, right? This is the main character trait of maths, that he could be easily fooled. And of course, he was fearful, right? Because the story that Possible gives him, he believes that, and he was fearful with the knocking at the door. Correct? So this is all about this chapter, The Midnight Visitor. We are going to meet in the next episode. Till then, I want all of you to like, share and subscribe to English Wali Ma'am. I'll see you all in the next video. Till then, all the best.